So for many people, including myself, a Glock was the first pistol they ever bought. We had name recognition, we knew we had a reputation for reliability, and we had a newsworthy magazine capacity. So in my case, this thing sat in a drawer for about 5 years before I really paid any attention to it. So I'd taken it to the range from time to time and put some rounds through it, and I even cleaned the thing. Took the slide off, took out the barrel, ran a brush through the barrel, cleaned up all the carbon inside the magazine well. The usual stuff. But there's a number of internals that run inside the slide that can get gummed up and might require a look once in a while. And if you ever want to throw your own pistol together with a slide that you ordered for yourself and individually selected the components for, well, this will help with that too. So today we are going to detail strip a Glock slide. Step 1. Drop the magazine. Good to go. Make sure there's nothing in the chamber, and we are clear. To disassemble, as everyone knows, you have to pull the trigger, pull back ever so gently on the slide to remove tension off the tabs, and push, and the slide comes right off. Alright, pull off the recoil spring and guide rod. That's easy stuff. Barrel comes right out. So the first thing we're going to have to do is get this slide cover plate off here. And it looks like you'd just give it a nudge and it would come right off, but you have to relieve the pressure on it back here. And we're going to use this Glock tool to do that. Yeah, they slapped their name on a little piece of straight metal. So if you look in here, that square piece is the striker. And that little plastic part of the striker assembly, you jam your Glock tool in there and you push forward, and that's going to release tension on the plate, and that allows you to pull it off. And keep a thumb over there. It doesn't seem like this stuff goes shooting out, so you're probably fairly safe there. So this button you're looking at here is actually part of a longer 3-piece assembly that holds the extractor in place. You can just get that out by giving it a tap. Let's take a closer look at that. We have the extractor depressor plunger, the depressor plunger spring, and then this little guy here is the spring-loaded bearing, and they just kind of snap into the coil under tension. So with that out, we can pull the whole striker out. Go. So this consists of the striker itself. There's 2 little plastic cups that retain the spring from flying off the end, and then there's a spacer in the back and a spring that holds it all together. This little silver button you hear, this is the firing pin safety, and when you pull the trigger, this little nub goes up and depresses that, and that lets the striker move freely inside the striker channel. Right now it is being held in place by the extractor. So if I push down on that, that's going to relieve tension on the extractor, and you can just pull it right out. And this is generally the dirtiest part. Yeah, look at that. And give this a little tap, and it'll fall right out. So what's left? If you're planning on Cerakoting this thing, you're going to want to take the sights off. These are driftable, so you just pound them out. The front one is held in place by a tiny little screw, and that's Loctited in place, so I'm not going to be able to get it out. But if you look at this shallow little 6-point, that will go in there, just barely clear that front lip. Now the other thing that is left in there is a striker liner, which is just a little piece of plastic that keeps the striker spring from rubbing on the slide. And that's about a $2 part, so you can pull that out, and they have you replace it whenever you do it. I'm going to go get a rag and wipe all this stuff down because it's quite well lubricated and it's excessive. And you guys can enjoy a little interlude while I do that, and then we'll throw it back together. As you saw, that extractor was filthy, as you can see by my hands. And you can see the wear marks on there. It's always a nice thing to keep track of if anything's wearing strangely, but other than a little cat hair, it looks like all we've lost is some finish, and these are not expensive parts to replace if they are falling down. So, let's throw it back together. Got our firing pin safety in there. Held in place by our extractor. Got our striker back in place. Our extractor plunger assembly. Oop. Right side forward. There we go. If you look, you can see that that striker and the plunger are sticking out a little bit. So rather than tackle it all at once, we're going to get one at a time. Line that up in the slots. I was going to push down on this with the Glock tool, but it's not really wide enough, so I'm going to use my front sight post tool instead. And if I push down on that, that should be enough to get it started. Yep, there we go. And get the back cover plate over there. So that's in the slots. Now all we have to do is push down our plunger assembly so the plate clears it. Snap it in place. That works. Extractor's in order. Push down that block, then you should be able to move the striker back and forth through there by manipulating that notch on it. And if you release it, it shouldn't be able to move. Alright. Barrel back in. Recoil spring and guide rod. Back on our frame. Functions check. Good to go. So there you have it, your Glock slide detail stripped. Oh, and a caveat. Glock 42 and Glock 43, they don't have the plastic liner in the striker channel. Thanks for watching, and this really will be my last video for 2018.